So, ladies and gentlemen, dear viewers, hello from Athens, from the Skai premises. I'm Apostolos Mangiriadis. I'm a political correspondent with Skai TV and Skai Radio, and I'm happy to be present at the Delphi Economic Forum, the digital Delphi Economic Forum of 2020. Hopefully, next year we'll meet up everyone at the Delphi premises. For now on, today I'm very happy to host Matt Brittin, who heads up Google's business operation in Europe, the Middle East, and Africa. Matt, hello to London, and we're very happy to host you here in Delphi Economic Forum.
Hello, Apostolos, and thank you so much for inviting me. It's great to be here. I know
Delphi
is the center of the world, and now it's the center of the digital world, at least today. So it's a privilege to join you.
Absolutely. It's a week where Delphi comes back to its initial state in the world. It used to be the center of the world in the ancient Greece. Let me pan the discussion right away to the digital conversation. And of course, I'm taking the coronavirus as the spark plug for this conversation. How has the crisis affected, on your sense, the digital world? Here in Greece, we say that probably it took 5 years of digital transformation in a couple of months. We saw our government proposing legislation and also, in a sense, putting down some kind of technological transformations in our public sector that we have been imagining them for decades, and it took them only a couple of months.
Yeah, I mean, look, the very fact that we're having this conversation like this is an illustration, isn't it? If you think about consumers, we've all changed our behavior, probably leapt forward. My parents, who are in their late 80s, are using video calling. Everyone's been shopping more online. And certainly at Google, we've seen the use of our services, obviously search, particularly for important health information, or YouTube. You know, I've got a YouTube haircut now. We've learned lots of new things, and we've adopted lots of things in our own lives. But from a business standpoint, I think I've spoken to so many company leaders who have said, you know, if you told me in January I'd been running my operation completely work from home within 2 months, I'd have said you were crazy. But it turns out we can. And I think there's a real shift in how businesses have appreciated what digital technology can do. So it's certainly the case that pandemic has shown us how important technology can be in our lives. I think there's also a moment for us to think about how technology can help us accelerate out of the pandemic and out of the economic difficulty that's going to unfold now.
That's a very interesting point. I wonder whether you sense that technology detracts us also from our social life, or do you think that technology actually is here to assist and accelerate, in the sense, our social life? I was talking to a business executive some few weeks ago, and he told me that I know technology has made my life simpler, but I miss those 5 minutes before our meeting, the chit chat we did in our office before we enter our discussion. That is also valuable. Do you agree on that?
Yeah, of course. And look, this is not about technology replacing human interaction. It's just it's an and situation, not an or situation. So it's a real complement to what we do in our everyday lives. And I think, you know, we mentioned the pandemic accelerating our use of technology. Last year, we reached the point where half the planet has access to the internet for the first time. And within the next 5 years, everyone will have access. And this is an overwhelmingly positive thing for people. As you know, access to information, education, connecting to each other. It really adds to what we can do in the physical world. But of course, there's no substitute for being together and the very human side of things. And I think one of the key challenges for organizations like ours is to make the technology work in sympathy with our lives. You know, that's why Google is all about trying to get you the answer you want as quickly as possible. You don't need to understand anything technical. And, you know, I think things like YouTube have shown people learning from other people like them in a very, very human way. And again, we try to make the technology so simple that it's not a barrier. And I think that's been one of the interesting things of this pandemic. You know, everybody doing video calls. This is something that was not possible even a couple of years ago. And the technology is just enabling a much more human situation. Imagine what it would be like to be locked down without being able to see other people and fighting over one, you know, family telephone.
Absolutely. I guess that would mean probably too much television time, but it's better we substitute it with a lot of video calling to our relatives and especially the elders, our parents, and so on. Um, ha, Let me pan the discussion on Google. How did you handle the pandemic internally?
Yeah, so first and foremost, we had to make sure that our people were safe. And so we moved to kind of work from home very, very quickly and probably ahead of most countries. We knew that we could do it because we all have the capability technically to do it. But of course, like every company, none of us have done it for this long. So we spent some time on how we really work together to look after employee well-being. But from, the second priority once our people are safe is information for us. So how do we make sure that you can get the accurate information you need? And we've launched something like 200 products and features to try to support people in the pandemic. So first and most importantly in search, really making sure you've got accurate health information, moving from global to country level health service information, launching SOS alerts and things like this. Teaching from home, we launched a really comprehensive package of tools for teachers who had to start teaching remotely. That was one of the big things that we were able to do very quickly. And of course, making things like video conferencing, Google Meet available, the premium form free for everyone to help companies and people to keep in touch. So there was some rapid acceleration of some of those things and really trying to play our part. We've also got some stuff which we do, which is trying to help governments deal with the health issues, whether that be, it's been publicized that we're working with Apple to help make apps that can do contact tracing work better. I think it's really important that people have confidence in the privacy of any app that's being used to collect sensitive health information, and that's one of the things that we're trying to do. And many countries are working with us on that technology. And we also have some research efforts and data as well. So you may have seen we published movement reports. So journalists like yourself and also policymakers can see from Google Maps, anonymized Google Maps data, what's happened in the lockdown, where have people stopped moving and where are they starting to move? That's also important as we open up different countries at different speeds. So I think there's a lot we've tried to do. Our efforts now are really turning to economic recovery. It's clear, as I said earlier, that if the technology has been helping us in the crisis, it can accelerate us out of the crisis. And that means helping people get the right skills. And I can talk about some of the things we've done in Greece on this, and helping companies connect quickly with demand as it returns so that we get economic growth back quickly.
I'll get into that right away, but let me ask you first, during the pandemic, during those 2 or 3 months, I understand that you gave out some of your very important and very useful tools. I wonder how the pandemic affected your expectation of those tools. Did you improve them while during the pandemic? Did you see new aspects of them, or did you come up with new ideas on those tools?
Some of it was very simple. So if you look at YouTube, most people go there for entertaining themselves and also a lot of learning. But we felt it was important that there were COVID information panels right there when you land on YouTube, and they'd been seen 20 billion impressions, I think. So huge reach of these platforms. Trying to make sure that we partnered with different people to get authoritative and quality content out there. So, for example, in Greece, we partnered to get hashtag Greece from home, which is highlighting some of the things you'd love to see if you could travel, but you can't travel. So we tried to do a range of things there. And I mentioned Google Meet, which is our video calling premium app, making that free to everyone and constantly tuning the features as we saw what was most useful to people. And I think that's one of the things that technology has to do is, you build something, but then you have to really look at how people are using it and respond to people. So you might think technology is all about algorithms, but actually it's a very human focused approach, and we can never be quite sure what
interaction
people are going
plays
to
a
do.
very crucial role to that. I
Sorry?
understand interaction plays a crucial role on that, meaning that
Totally.
you see how it works, and then you give your own input back in a feedback style.
Yeah, so if you think about Google search, something many people use regularly, every time you research, maybe a symptom of COVID, we put some results in an order. We can see how often people will click on the fourth or the fifth result versus the first or the second. That tells us something about what's useful and maybe changes the order. It's a very simple example, but that happens billions of times a day. So don't think that technology is purely algorithm. It's always paying attention to what people are doing and trying to find ways to improve for you. And of course, if search doesn't give you the answers you want, you'll go and spend time somewhere else looking for those.
Now, before I interrupted you, you were talking about ways of reaction and ways to tackle the economic crisis. And do I understand right that you also have some plans for Greece?
Yes, well, we're a child, certainly in comparison with the history of Greece and Delphi, but we've been in Greece since 2008 with a team on the ground. And we've been working very closely on tourism. In 2015, we launched a program called Grow Greek Tourism Online, which was all about trying to help people in the tourist industry gain digital skills to help them find people internationally, market their properties, and so on and so forth, partnering with the Ministry of Tourism. And since then, we've trained something like 140,000 people in Greece in digital skills. So that digital skills, not to be a coder, not to be an engineer, but to how do I do online marketing? How can I use video or analytics to grow a business? People like Mrs. Natina in Crete, who has a hotel, who wants to sell rooms to customers. Or another project was AgroU, which was working with Udacity as an expert partner to build a platform that can connect people who want to employ farm labor and farm laborers. So we've got some experience from these things, really focused on partnering with local experts, including the Ministry of Tourism, and making sure that these programs had impact. So 64% of the 140,000 people told us that we'd help them to grow their business. 1 in 5 people said that they had got a new job or taken a career progression step as a result of that training. So this is stuff we've been doing historically. And now, where are we and what can we do? Well, we're launching today Grow Greece with Google, which is our effort to play a big part in the economic recovery. As I said, we've trained in the pandemic, just during the pandemic lockdown period, we've trained 5,500 people in the tourism industry and the digital skills they will need to connect with demand as it returns. And we're going to do more on that. We're going to talk more tomorrow with the Ministry of Labour about a program we're going to focus on digital skills. So we need people to have the skills that that will equip them for the future of work, and that will equip Greece to connect with demand and to grow fast again. We're also bringing job search to Greece today. So you're familiar with searching, and job search works to bring many job listings from partners across the country to search, to make it as easy as possible to find the kind of jobs that you're looking for. Something which we've done in other countries. Tens of millions of people in France and UK and Germany have already benefited from this service. And we're working with local partners, including Workable and Carriera, to try to make sure we bring those services and make it easy for people to find jobs as they're looking for them. Because we do recognize, this is going to be a big disruption. Many people will need to change jobs and careers. So those are a couple of the things we will try to do. On jobs, how do you help people find them? How can we help people get the right skills? And how can we help companies connect with demand around the world as it returns?
Is Greece a pilot country for that program, or have you also tested that program in other countries?
So we've been working on digital skills in many countries over the last 5 years. And so we've trained millions of people across Europe in digital skills, trying to help them to get jobs and so on. I'd say where Greece is piloting and leading for us is in the tourism industry. It's such a key industry for Greece. And if you think about it, it's the perfect sort of digital thing to sell, because it's an entirely virtual purchase. You buy the holiday before you come. And so a lot of our work has been around helping people to showcase the brilliance of Greece. My last holiday actually I had was in Crete Old Town, and just bringing the light, the history, the architecture, the culture to people in ways that are compelling is one of the things that we've been really trying to do. So working in such close partnership with the Ministry of Tourism and with people in the tourism sector has really helped us to think about how to refine our tools, make it simple and easy. And also we want to connect people with demand. So if you think about Google search, as I say, many of us use it every day. When you have a hotel in Crete that is available, you want to make sure it shows up against the most relevant searches. So helping people to see what demand looks like and connect efficiently is something the internet has enabled that was never possible before. It wasn't possible to buy a TV ad in every country in front of the right person at the right time. It's just totally economically unaffordable, or to advertise in a newspaper. But now, anytime somebody's searching for a holiday in Delphi, they can see your specific hotel displayed in a really compelling way. And that's what we've been trying to do.
True. I wonder, just because you're talking about the tourism industry, I was wondering how, virtual reality tools can also help and enhance the tourism experience. And I wonder whether you can talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so one of the things your audience may not have seen, if you love arts and culture, we have something called Google Arts and Culture. You can search for it any way you like. And what we've been doing is working to digitize artwork and culture from across the world, so that people can really get a rich sense of those amazing artifacts. So you get a super high definition view of a painting, for example, or you can see a 360 view of the Acropolis or other amazing sites. So that's one of the things which we've been trying to do to play a part in making it more interesting to explore our heritage. And what you see is the more people look at those things online, the more people actually want to go and have the physical experience. A bit like you were saying earlier, this is not a substitute for visiting.
Right.
It actually helps people get more interested in these events.
So it's a spark plug, so that in a sense it works as an accelerator. I thought I had the presumption that if you look at the painting in a 3D view, you might not opt to travel there, but I sense that if the results are as you say, it might actually enhance tourism in the end.
Yeah, I think it really does. I mean, a good analogy is the music industry, right? So the music industry now has or until the pandemic, had a much bigger live performance. Everybody's going to see live performances, even though we've all got all of the world's recorded history in our pocket, right? Mm-hmm. So actually the digital has made people more passionate about more types of music and has seen an explosion in live events. And I think that's what we see with arts and culture too, is that people develop interests and they want to go and see the genuine things and understand more of the context. So this is one of the big opportunities for an amazing country like Greece that has such an amazing set of experiences for visitors around the world. And now for the first time, half the planet is online. And within 5 years, the whole planet will be online and everybody will be able to understand and explore the culture and the story of Delphi or Zeus or whatever it is.
Since we only have like 2 or 3 minutes left for our discussion, I want to somehow sum this up by asking you a question that I'm sure that you have tackled in the past many times. There's a fear among people that technologies of the fourth industrial revolution might take away jobs. And I wonder whether, as you say, skilling and reskilling is the answer. I wonder whether you yourself sometimes wonder whether in 5 or 10 years' time you might be underskilled, in a sense that you have to follow up the technology. And the real question here is, how easy is it for everyone to get reskilled, not only for university graduates, but for people who have just finished up high school, for example? In the sense, my question here is whether technology is here to disrupt our world in a better way or in a worse way.
Well, it's very timely you asked that question. So before the pandemic, we actually commissioned some work with McKinsey to look at the future of work across Europe. And this is in more detail than it's ever been done before. And we've published it. I'll actually tweet it later so that anybody interested can look at this. What the work found was that there's definitely going to be disruption to jobs through automation and machine learning and so on. And they're going to be different jobs disrupted than in the past. In the past, it was mechanization of agriculture and production. This is much more around sort of administrative and managerial jobs too. But what McKinsey has projected is that although many jobs will be disrupted, they'll be more created than disrupted. So there'll be a net increase in jobs as a result of this shift. The challenge is, will the new jobs require the same skills as the old jobs? And that's where we've really invested in the last 5 years in this digital skills programming. 14 million people across Europe have gone through our digital skills training. And that's given us confidence in a couple of ways. One, we've seen real demand for digital skills training. 50% of the people who've been on our training are women. So this is unusual because, technical training tends to see a lower proportion of women. In countries where we haven't been targeting youth unemployment, the average age is over 40. So this really is for everyone. So I think it's a big program. And this is why I think it's so important that what we're announcing is in partnership with government and in partnership with trade associations and other bodies, because nobody can do it on their own. And I think the crisis more than ever has shown us the importance of companies and governments and educators working together to equip people for the future. So I'm optimistic, but I also think there is a disruption coming, and we need to be on the front foot here. And that's why it's so important the Greek government is looking forward to that too.
Matt, this is a very optimistic closure. Hopefully next year we'll host you in Delphi. Thank you very
I'd love
much,
to be there.
and hope to see you soon.
Thank you. I hope to be there in person next year. Thank you.